So what is a G10? So a G10 is a relay. You've probably all heard the phrase EGIP. So what EGIP stands for is Embedded Generation Interface Protection, and that's all the G10 is. It's an interface protection between the generator and the grid. It protects both of them really from each other in very specific settings that the ESB have set out. So the first question a lot of people ask is, when do you need the G10? So you need the G10 when you go into small scale generation and above. This is usually at 50 kilowatts, up to 200 kilowatts is small scale generation. Then you can go above that, but that's a different kind of ball game, which I'll talk to you about in another video. So in one of the other videos I've done, I got a question back, a couple of questions actually, about reverse power relays. You don't actually need a reverse power relay in small scale generation between 50 and 200 kilowatts. When you go above 200 kilowatts, there are some requirements for a reverse power relay, but not always either. The reason why you don't need the reverse power relay between 50 and 200 kilowatts in the small scale generation G10 protection is because the ELS systems that exist on most of the inverters, nearly all of the inverters, is accepted that the same conditions that can be simulated through the ELS systems on the inverters is the same action that reverse power relay does. A lot of questions come in, a lot of people say, oh, I need one with reverse power relay. Believe me, you don't. I've done hundreds of these witness tests and I have a very, very good relationship with the guy in the ESB. We've asked him all these questions before, we've done all the tests before, I have hundreds of these passed before. You do not need a reverse power relay in the small scale generation, unless you're using some sort of inverter, which wouldn't be allowed anyway because you have to send it off on your NC application. Right, so one of the most common questions we get asked about is ESB witness testing. So here at Solmec Engineering, we provide the ESB witness test along with providing you with the panel. It all comes as part of one package on one price. You don't have to get the panel off us and to get someone else the ESB witness test. I've done many ESB witness testing. So what's involved in it? So basically what's involved in it is that a representative from the ESB, myself here from Solmec Engineering, and you, the installer of the G10 and the PV solar system, will be on site and prove that under fault conditions that the relay will do what it's supposed to do. Basically, cut out the contactor when there's a fault condition that will not be allowed out onto the grid. How do we simulate these fault conditions? Well, we simulate them with testers. This is a testing kit here that I went over to England and got a long time ago now, but it's one of the best testing kits I've ever used. Basically what this can do, it can inject voltage, it can inject frequency, and they can inject and simulate a loss of mains through rate of change of frequency, or rock off is what we call it here in the trade. I also have a very similar tester like this that injects current as well. Going back to our big friend, the reverse power relay. Whenever there's a reverse power relay in the system, which won't be happening on small scale generation, I'd like to say that again, we can use the current injector to inject current as well. So basically that's it. Like, this testing equipment does all that. It records all timing to make sure that there's a time specific trip faults, like it has to be done in a certain time, under a certain time, over a certain voltage, under a certain voltage, over a certain frequency, under a certain frequency. And once we prove all that by doing the test in front of the ESB guy, he will then improve it and say this system is safe and compliant and ready to go. And you can turn on your PV solar system, and your client, who's been waiting a long time, I presume, to get it all up and going, will be a very happy client then.